Hey students, in this video we're going to cover creating a part in Inventor. This is going to be part of a series of videos that's going to help you reach proficiency on this computer numeric controlled machining standard. So here's our proficiency table. And if we look at level 4, and this is where some of you have already talked to me about you want to get here. You're going to use the CNC machine maybe to do some inlay for a project that we're working on, or your next project, you want to cut out some complex parts, or you want to cut out multiples of the same part using the CNC machine. All right, that's what a level 4 would look like for this. All right, so if you can create a tool path and machine multiple parts for a project that you've designed, and that design, that could be you've designed the project, but in this case, it's also talking about you've designed the part in Inventor. That'd be a level 4. Okay? For the purpose of this video and the rest in the series, we're going to cover these bullet points here. This video is going to go pretty heavy into this first bullet point. So I'm going to cover how to use the 3D modeling software to create and or modify. We're going to create a solid object in here that satisfies some design criteria. And then in the future videos, we'll hit these bullet points below. And so let's go ahead, and enough of me talking. Let's get started. And we're going to go to Autodesk Inventor to get started. You should have downloaded this in a previous class period. If you don't have that big eye on your desk, you're going to need to go to the Software Center. You could type that down here where it says click to search and download it. Inventor is one of the largest programs in the Software Center, so it takes a while to download. That's why we did it in a previous class period. You can see here it also takes a while to load, so just be patient as it's going through this startup stuff. If this is your first time opening up Inventor, it's not going to go to this screen. It'll bring you to a licensure screen where you're going to have to agree to the licensure. Then it's going to bring you to a screen that says Start Learning or Start Working. Go ahead and click on Start Working, and it'll bring you to a page similar to what we're looking at here. Okay. The biggest difference is I've got a pin file. I've got a bunch of unpinned files down below here. Yours is going to be blank if this is the first time that you're using this program. Okay. So once you've navigated your way to this screen, we're going to come in this section here where it says New, and we're going to make a new part. So again, Inventor is a big program, takes a while to load. Just be patient while it's spooling through this. All right, and the very first thing we're going to do in here is the thing students struggle with the most. Inventor is not like Google. It doesn't save stuff constantly for you. So we're going to create a file path right off the bat so that we can click this picture of the disk up here. This is the save command, or you can do Control S. At any point in your project, and it will update it for you. So we're going to make a file path right now. We're going to go to File, and since we're saving this for the first time, I'm just going to click on Save. Okay, and I would like you to go to your Google Drive. If your Google Drive doesn't show up when you click on this drop down like I just did, come down to the search box, type in the word Drive, and then right here where it says Google Drive, you're going to click that and follow the commands to log into Google Drive. Right? For most of you, you'll be able to click here and go to Google Drive. You want to go into My Drive. Right? And then what I'd recommend doing, you can see I've got all sorts of folders in here, is click this thing that says Create a New Folder and make one, and you can call it Inventor Files for Woods 2. Right? And then hit Enter. Then I'm going to double click this folder because I want to open it up and save something in here. The other thing I always tell students, Inventor doesn't give very good part names or very good file names. This one's called Part 1 right now. That's not super descriptive. Once you've got more than 1 or 2 files to keep track of, it's going to be hard to remember, like, what did I do in 1 or 2? So let's change this up. We're going to call it our engraved sign. So we got a called engraved sign. It's got a spot where it lives in our Google Drive, so we can get to it anywhere. We've got internet access. We've already done some wonderful stuff here. So let's go ahead and hit save. All right. And now we can get into using Inventor. All right. So first thing I'm going to do in Inventor is I got to start out with a flat object. So I'm going to go to Start 2D Sketch. These 3 kind of panes of glass looking thing are showing up on my screen. I want to come to this one here that says XY plane, and I'm going to click on that plane. and I want to start my sketch on that plane. All right, now you can see we've got this crosshair on our screen. This represents an x-axis and a y-axis, and that doesn't seem super important right now, but when we start using the router, it bases all of its movements off of an XY Cartesian coordinate. So here we are using some math in our tech ed class. And it also starts off at the 0, 0 coordinate in the lower left-hand corner of your project. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a rectangle to represent the board you're going to make your sign out of. So I'm going to click on rectangle, right, and I want to come right over the origin where those two lines cross and see that green dot. And I'm going to click once with my mouse. I just click and let go. I didn't click and hold down. I'm going to drag my cursor up and to the right, and I'm going to type in the size that I want this sign to be. Okay? You're all going to get an 18-inch long, and I'm going to hit the tab key to move over to the other box by 5-inch tall board. All right. So it made an 18 by 5 inch, I hope, box, but I can't see it because it's extending out the side of my screen. I'm going to come over here to this bar. This is called my nav bar. And I'm going to hit this magnifying glass that's holding over a sheet of paper. That's called Zoom All. And that will show me that I've got an 18-inch long object. But I must have goofed something up because I don't see a height listed here. And I wish I could say that was on purpose, but it wasn't. So to give this some height, I'm going to go to the dimension tool. And I'm going to click this vertical line. I'm clicking the two endpoints. I'm going to click a third time and it'll open a dialog box, right? That says, how tall do you want to make this? I want it to be 5. So I'm going to click enter. It's not fitting on my screen. I'm going to go zoom all again. All right. And over here, I can see my object is 5 by 18. If your numbers don't say 5 by 18, you can double click on them. It'll open up this dialog box and you can type in 18 or 5, depending on which one it needs to be in. All right, so at this point, I'm going to hit this green finish sketch check. It's going to take me into 3D mode. And I want to turn this into a 3D object now. So I'm going to do that by using the extrude command. All right, the board that you're going to engrave on is 3/4 of an inch thick. So I'm going to change distance A here to 0.75. And then I'm going to click on OK. Right, now that I got an object on my screen, I'm going to come up here to this disk and hit the save button so that if my computer crashes, this will be the file that I'm able to recover at this point right here. Okay. I want to go back one time to this proficiency table. All right, we have just started using 3D modeling software to create a solid object. Okay, now we're going to modify it a little bit. The two things I want you to put on here is we're going to engrave a border, and then we're going to do some relief machining of our text. So that's your criteria. Okay, what you choose for the text is up to you. I've probably told you this a bajillion times in class. I'm going to put my last name on this, but if you want to put somebody else's last name on it, if you want to put world's best mother, even though my mother is the world's best mother, if you want to tell your mother she's the best, you can put that on there. You can do whatever text you choose. It's just got to be something that's school appropriate, obviously. And it's also got to fit nicely on this 5 by 18-inch board. All right, so let's go back to Inventor. We're going to take care of the border first. So I'm going to go start 2D sketch. Okay. Now I'm going to click on a flat surface. So I'm going to click on this 5 by 18-inch surface. It always puts the origin in the middle of my screen. So I always got to hit zoom extends. Okay, and I'm going to use a different command. I'm going to go to this offset tool. And this lets me pick some existing geometry, but there's no geometry on my sketch plane right now. So I'm going to go to project geometry first. And I'm going to select this entire box I drew previously, and I'm going to project it through. Okay? Now you can see that yellow line on my screen. Now I'm going to go to offset, and I'm going to drag in a line. This is going to be my border line around here. I'm going to come in 0.25. So I clicked offset. I typed in 1/4 inch. I'm going to hit enter. Okay, now I'm going to go offset one more time. So you can see my offset tool is still selected up here. I'm going to pick that box I just drew. And I'm going to come in from there another 1/4 of an inch. I'm typing in 0.25. I've dragged my mouse in. I'll hit enter. And this is going to be my border line. So we're going to go finish sketch. Now, if you wanted a bigger border at this point, I'm using my stylus to zoom in and out. You could double click this 0.25 And you could change this dimension to a 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch. Try and keep it in multiples of a 1/4 inch because we're going to use a 1/4 inch bit to cut this thing out. Okay, I'm going to stick with 0.25. Now I'm going to use the extrude button again. And this time I'm going to use my stylus. I'm kind of pinching my fingers to zoom in. I'm going to pick this area in between my two offsets, this 1/4 inch area. I'm going to click on it. And you can see Inventor wants to add material. So I'm going to come down here to my output options and I'm going to select cut. And I'm going to recess this borderline in 0.25 inches. All right, so it's sinking it in 0.25. And then I'll click OK. All right, so there's going to be the border. You can see it's carved in to my object. Okay? So since I've done some more editing, I'm going to come over here and hit the save button so I don't lose all this hard work. Okay? Now I'm going to go to start 2D sketch one more time. I'm going to click on this center section. Ooh, the time it put it on my screen. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to use the text tool this time to put my last name on here. Now, when I type with the text tool, I'm going to start in the upper corner of this object. And I'm holding my mouse down to do this. I'm going to click and drag a box that kind of fills this whole thing up because that's where I want my text to go. And then when I go to type, I'm going to change right off the bat the size of my text. I'm going to make my text 1 inch tall. Remember, this box is 5. I've got about a 1/2 inch border, a 1/2 inch to here, 1/2 inch to here. So 1 inch, I could do a couple lines. Now that I've explained that, I might even make this bigger. I'm going to go 2.5 inches. It defaults to Toma text. If there's another text in here you like, you can go ahead and pick it. Okay? Unfortunately, Inventor is a great drafting program. It doesn't really give us examples of what that text might look like. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and type this in. And it's not really showing up in this box down here because it's doing it at full size. So I'm going to type in Mr. Coleman. Get myself a sign for my desk. And then I'm going to click OK. All right, we'll see what happens. So I typed it in, and you can see it's not fitting on there. So this is where I've got to do some design work to make it fit my criteria. I clicked Escape. You can see I don't have the text tool highlighted up here anymore. I've just got a white cursor. I'm going to come back to my name. I'm going to double click it. All right, and then I'm going to highlight all this text. All right, 2.25 was like too big to fit in that space. So this is just a little bit of trial and error here. I'm going to reduce my text by a 1/4 inch. I'm going to go to 2.25 and see what happens. All right, it's still not fitting in there. So I'm going to, again, highlight it, and I'll try typing in another number. Will the third time be a charm? Oh, yeah, it fits. Okay, now what I'm noticing is it's up kind of high in this text box. Right? I want that centered. So I'm going to go back into my text one more time now, double clicking it. And up here, I've got some options. I can center it left to right. Right here's my vertical justification. So I can also middle justify it. And if I go OK, and now it drops it down, kind of puts it on my sheet of paper. Or not my sheet of paper, my piece of material. Yeah? So I'm going to go finish sketch. Right? You may have to do more or less editing. Right? This could take you half an hour. Who knows? Okay. And then the last thing I want to do today is I'm going to grab this extrude tool one last time. I'm going to highlight my text. Right? I can see an arrow pointing out, so I'm going to go to cut. Right? That arrow should flip-flop and point in, and I'm going to make sure my distance is set to 0.25. Then I'll click OK. And it'll take and it'll push that text in on my board. I know I said that was the last thing I'm going to do. I want you to do one other thing just to get a good idea of how this might look, and make sure you like it. We're going to come down on this materials list to where it says wood and pick a species of wood that we've got in the shop that you might like to see what it would look like. So if I'm cutting this out of oak, here's what it would look like. If I'm going to go with maple board, unfortunately, they don't have pine, but you can kind of get a feel for what it looks like. Okay. So I'm going to hit save. I'm going to flash this proficiency table up in front of you one more time. We have just checked off this first box here. You've used the 3D modeling software to create and modify a solid object that satisfies a set of criteria. So you've made a sign that'll fit on a 5 by 18-inch board. So at this point, make sure you've saved what you've got, and you can move on to the next video in this series.